本体の ISB でございますけれども、1970年の6月に設立をいたしました。事業所としては、本社が五反田でございまして、新横浜、三島、甲府、我孫子、大阪、五反田、名古屋、あとデータセンターという形で事業所を持っております。決算の月につきましては12月、連結で従業員数は昨年末時点で、今年末で現在1190名ということでございます。資本金が17億752万円、発行済み株式数510万5800株ということで、今年の3月24日に東証2部から東証1部の方へ市場買いをしております。証券コードは9702番でございます。で、これは40周年に期に作りました ISB ウェイというものでございます。で、業務内容でございますけれども、一応7つの分野に分けておりまして、携帯端末、モバイルインフラ、これは携帯の基地局とか移動体通信の研究開発の分野でございます。あと組み込みにつきましては医療社債を中心にと。当時ですね、この一番下の方にありますけれども、中国では現地に進出した日系企業が次々と撤退していく中、ベトナムではですね、一社も撤退していないと。そのくらい日本とベトナムは相性がいいですよと。ベトナムにとって日本は大変大切な国だということで、二国間でのいろんな争いもないという部分もありますので、それを一番のきっかけにして12年前になんとか100% の子会社として設立をさせていただきました。ここに挙げてありますように、いろんなところでベトナムの魅力の話があると思いますけれども、弊社としましてはそれはまさに実感して11年2年経っているというところでございます。で、当時設立に向けていろんな準備をしている中、社員を応募いたしました。日系企業として IT 企業として多分ですけども、ホーチミンで一番最初の日系 100% 企業だと思いますので IVC という形で当時新聞広告を出させていただきましたけども、4000名ぐらいの応募がございまして、とてもさばききれないということで書類選考といろいろしまして600人ぐらいまでに絞った後、試験をいたしまして最終的に面接で合格したのは約10名ほどでございまして、そこからスタートしたと。で、現在その10名の中の6名5名かな、一応残って今もいただいているというところでございます。そういう意味で今は200名の体制にはなっておりますけれども、ハノイの方にもブランチを出してという形で今進めているところでございます。で、アウトソーシングという意味でのいろんなデータがここに載っておりますけれども、なんとかISB としてもですね、先ほど来午前中にお話がありました内容も含めてですね、改めて ISB ベトナムとしての今後の方向性を決めていきたいなというふうに思っております。これはいろんなベトナムのものでございますけれども、こういう形で今進めているというところでございます。で、現在の課題としてはいろいろありますけれども、ここに先ほど来のお話の中でもありましたけれども、当初は ISB からの仕事を 100% で行っておりました。ベトナムの皆様へのメッセージということで最後になりますけれども、日本では現在高スキルの人材不足ということで、非常に不足しております。オフショア開発の重要性はますます高まっているので、なんとかベトナムから優秀な人材を日本に送ること、オンサイトについても非常にポテンシャルがあるというふうに思っております。日本企業がベトナムの企業に求めていることは、コストだけではなく、パートナーとして今後も広げていこうということで、先ほども申し上げました通り、日本だけではなくてですね、少しずつ 諸外国の取引も広めていきたいというふうに思っておりますので、この辺のところを進めていければなというふうに思っているところでございます。拙い説明でございましたけど、以上でございます。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Wakao Isio. And I would like to invite Mr. Misoka Shuichi, Director from Topgate, to share with us expectation from Japanese companies to Vietnamese software outsourcing partners and how Vietnamese software company attracting Japanese client. Welcome.
すみません、日本語で話させていただきますけれども、私の名前三岡修一と言います。トップゲートという会社の取締役をしています。で、私がお話しする内容はベトナム企業の皆様が日本企業と今後どうやって付き合ったらいいかっていうのを人材育成の観点から説明します。はい、はい、で私の説明を紹介をさせてください。個人的な話なんですけど、40歳です。で、そうですね、もともと組み込み Linux のエンジニアです。で、オープンソースのコミッターをずっとしていて、オープンソースの魅力に取りつかれてですね、例えばスマホの前にガラケー、普通の携帯電話ですねのドライバーとか、あとはカーナビゲーションのシステムだったり、これが今の浅草なんですけども、実は50年ほど前はこんな感じでした。当時日本は敗戦を経験して、国を挙げて復興しなければならないということで愛国心を持って、国民一丸となって産業を育てていきました。例えば鉄道とか、インフラですね。で一方でソフトウェアの技術者たち、今国の産業を支えている IT 技術者の人たちをどう育成しているかっていうのは、日本では6歳から14歳の期間でプログラミングを、義務教育化しようという流れはあります。実は私はその文科省の一委員会として次世代のプログラマー育成のカリキュラムを作っています。さまざまなプロジェクトに参加しているんですけれども、何もプログラマーだけがプログラミングをするんではなくて、どのような人たちでもプログラミング能力を身につけて、論理的思考をつけるということを命題にしています。なので6歳から14歳は義務教育化するという流れで、もう一つは技術を身につけるのがとても楽しくて趣味のようになっている人たちがいます。で実はこの趣味ホビーとしてのテックを学んでいる人たちっていうのが向上心がとてもあります。会社の中でプログラミングを業務としてやるだけではなくて、土日もしくは夜を使っていろんな人とつながって勉強会をさまざまに繰り返しています。日本の IT 業界はとても人材不足ですと言われていますけれども、数値化されているのがこのグラフになります。情報分野では求人広告、募集人材の2倍一番多い人不足と言われていますし、その IT 業界の中でも特にその技術分野ですね、情報の部分の IT 通信の部分が3倍人が足らないっていう3倍の求人募集になっています。でこのような状況の中、日本のエンジニアがなぜ足らないかというと、実はあまり言いたくないんですけれども、あまりこの業界に来たがらないっていう事実があります。一方でその趣味として、ホビーとしてそのテックをしている人たちっていうのは、自分はプログラマーっていう感覚はないんですけれども、さまざまな業種業態で、簡単なプログラムを作って業務を楽にするようなことをしています。
Human machine interfaces. So we keep developing these projects in different locations, and they bring in more and more knowledge we have in house to Vietnam. So this way we want to establish in Vietnam this automotive hub for our company. So how we see it? So we already got some new clients this year, and we see overall good potential to expand the automotive presence in Vietnam. And through this, we want to develop, as I mentioned, this automotive hub. So how we will do it? There are a number of pillars, like, for instance, relocation, as I mentioned. We have experience relocating hundreds of people from one country to another just to bring knowledge. So for Vietnam, we definitely do that. So we will be relocating experts from Eastern Europe, for instance, to Vietnam. And in this way, we'll keep developing expertise here. We will set up a R&D lab. Again, in many other locations, we did it and pretty successful. And this R&D lab should have industry-specific curriculum. That's also pretty important. We do have trainings with industry-specific, but also when you go, for instance, and start cooperation with the university, from our experience, it's pretty important also to adjust the curriculum and make it also industry-specific. And we definitely will be part of a local community. Research and development activities are pretty important. They not only develop solutions, but they also scale your expertise or get it like more deeper. Also, best practices from other countries. Usually, you have some expertise in other locations. You need to have a framework how you can move that expertise from other locations. Cooperation with universities, like many people already talk about that. It's really important, but again, how you structure that. So this is at least proven approach for us, and I hope that it might be also useful for you, for other players on the market. So that's briefly that's it from my side, and I'm really glad to have this opportunity to share our expertise, our experience with you. Thank you.
Please all welcome Victor.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here. And
A bit louder, Victor. We cannot hear you.
oh, closer? It's better. Okay. In my past career, I did travel a lot around the globe. I've never been in Vietnam. So, from what I've seen so far, it's an exciting, great country. Going a few years back, when I came out of university, I talked to one of my buddies back in Silicon Valley, and he said, where do you want to go? Hardware, software? He said, don't go software. You'll never end up in dinner parties. And I said, why not? He said, because you simply don't get invited. So my first part of a career was actually hardware, and later on I moved into software. So actually, I got involved with TMA Solutions about, it's going to be now about a year. And when I spoke with my friends in the industry and customers and clients and potential customers, I actually tried to figure out why Europe is so far back with the software outsourcing or IT outsourcing. And actually, I was asking one, let's call it provoking question. Supposedly, you save about 10% of your cost by IT outsourcing. How much impact would this have on your business growth as well as on profit, productivity, and so on? And obviously, I mean, this question did generate some attention. And from all the answers that I was getting from customers, I was trying to filter out like top 3, top 4, top 5 reasons why is Europe still so slow in IT outsourcing. And actually, nothing surprisingly came out. I mean, the top concerns are, or let's call it common denominators, are still the IP security, control of cost, and so-called NIH, which is very typical for from European high-tech industry, which stands for not invented here. So these are the known barriers, the known borders, so we know how to pass those and how to fight those. So actually, outsourcing of IT services, just few graphs. IT services per country. if you look at the chart of outsourcing IT and business processes, the leading one obviously are the automotive industry. Location of the outsourced businesses. The surprise here is that despite the large labor cost in countries like Nordics countries, Sweden, Finland, Norway, as well as Germany, there is still a lot of outsourcing, a lot of software development as well as IT management in-house. So again, this just confirms what I said before, that there are about 3/4 of the IT market still actually open for outsourcing. Okay, what I try to do here is, instead of drawing a standard SWOT chart, I looked at the 4 major components in outsourcing, not only in IT outsourcing, but in outsourcing in general, which is actually the drivers, requirements, risk, and trends. Now, we certainly know the drivers and the trends, but what we got to pay attention to as newcomers to this market are requirements and risks. As far as requirements go, really the top or the most important are time to market, quality, IP protection, and what is also becoming more and more important is the local presence. So actually customers, especially European customers, one needs to give a comfortable feeling that the right person, the contact person, is close to them. The top risks, as I said before, the number one question really is, what do I really get for $20 per hour when I outsource my IT business? And the other one, again, is IP protection, which is coming up again and again when I was talking to customers. And what is also important to mention is, and I heard this during the presentations this morning quite often, cost. It's not only cost that is going to break the barrier in Europe. It's more than that. It is the quality, it is the time to market, and it is, what I say, is this giving customer a comfortable feeling, even though the company is in Vietnam. Wow. So actually, last night at dinner, somebody asked me, said, so you're going to tell us tomorrow how to get European market. Well, if I would be able to do this, that would be great. There are no secrets. The way of getting into a new market is more or less standardized, quote unquote. This country certainly has one condition, which is 100% fulfilled. It's a number of highly skilled engineers, number of graduates coming out every year. So we basically have the tools, quote unquote. The number 2, it's important now, when one has to do all of these homeworks here, which is all the standard marketing and sales planning plans. And without going through those, I just want to mention the one here on the left, that the times are coming when order takers will not survive. So creativity is required. And fact number 2 is service providers who are actually ready for digital disruption will be the most successful one. What I understand on the digital disruption is actually do more than client is expecting from. So innovation is coming into play again. And the very last one that I mentioned once before is it's a local presence. It's a cultural difference, and it's not only a cultural difference between Vietnam and Europe. I've been involved with one large American corporation years ago coming to Europe, and there was a huge cultural difference. Just an example, So do what you do the best and outsource the rest. And just to wrap up this, I mean, the IT departments of nowadays will have to get ready for breaking the rules. Otherwise, they won't be helping the business. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wu Yuang. I'm a professor at Vietnam National University. So it is my honor to be the moderator of this panel. In this panel, we have four panelists. So the first one is Mr. Hoan Nam Tien. So he's actually chairman of FTP Software, and he has been with FTP for more than 20 years, right? 22 years, and you have been, occupying different management positions, and you have contributed a lot to the growth of FTP. And then we have Michael. Yeah, he's already presented himself. So he's co-founder and VP of Logigear. He's very proactive in this conference. And we have Frank Schoenberg. We sat together in the advisory board of this conference, is that right? So he's the founder of Digitex, and he's also an investor. Right. And the last but not least is Mr. It's right in my phone. It's Yusei Narimatsu, is that right? And you are vice director of KDDI in Japan, and right. And you are doing global now, right? You are Global Network Operations Center in Vietnam right now. Okay. So I think that is you have another vision of the things, and Mr. Matsui. Can I call you Yusei? I can call you Yusei, right? Okay. And Yusei has been with Vietnam only for a couple of years, but he has been, very proactive in the scene. And there's different reasons of why people choose Vietnam, right? So I would like to ask for each panelist to give just 5 minutes of your, the reason why you chose Vietnam. We have heard a lot about that already, but then the pro and the con of going to Vietnam, right? And then from that, we have like more than 3 minutes for people for discussion. And I hope that with the discussion, even you can raise a question in Vietnamese, they can translate for the panelists, right? Okay? Okay, can I invite first Mr. Tien? Right, yeah. Okay. Thanks,
Why Vietnam? It's not easy. I still remember it 12 years ago when we go to overseas, we talking with our customer. We always say Vietnamese people very hardworking, very smart young people. And my friend in IBM, tell me, hey Tien, you say the Vietnamese people is a hardworking, is more than me. You very smart. It's meaning you smarter than me. And after that, we take out that. Cannot talking about that. And after that, we go to Japan. People in Japan say, hey Tien, our strategy is a China plus one. It's meaning with China, we need for another country. Why not Vietnam? And they go to India, go to Thailand, go to Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Vietnam. I think one of reason with Japanese people choose Vietnam is because the food in Vietnam very good. Yeah, if you compare with India. Yeah, and also Vietnamese people have the one thing very good. If our customers say doing 1, 2, 3, we only doing 1, 2, 3. Not the same for people in India doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very clear for you. And also why Vietnam? Because we know we need to speak Japanese language. A lot of people thinking is the Japanese people need to speak with you by English like India people. And also we learn from Chinese. Before I working in Epsop, I go to Đại Liên. I visit a lot of Chinese companies there. They working every day about at least 10 hours to 14 hours. They speak Japanese language very well. They have follow our process very good. And I know that we need to learn from Chinese. And also, we need to cheaper. Yeah. Up to today, a lot of people talking for the cost effective. I think is one of reason people choose Vietnam. And also, for last thing, I think for Vietnamese people, why Vietnam? Vietnamese people not easy to learn deep thing for the thing, but they can learn new thing very fast. It's really for that. And new technology. IT is a new technology, changing every year, every 6 months. And Vietnamese people, young Vietnamese people, can do that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. It's very clear that people are our asset in outsourcing, arena. Yeah, Frank.
Yeah, I'm German. Before I became Vietnamese, I was German, and I was happy employee in a publishing house. They sent me here 1 year to Vietnam, and when this year was over, I said, "Wow, Vietnam, it's good. Drink beer, drink coffee. I can see the character. Let's stay a little bit here." And I founded a small company for outsourcing. It was, in this time, was 1 or 5 employees. It was not really serious, but it worked good. Why Vietnam? As it became a little bit bigger, I was looking around in Asia, and one of my topics was I want to own the company. That means I wanted a foreign direct investment, and that's for 100%. So when I lived in Germany, I thought all the same here. And then I found that in the Philippines, in Malaysia, in Thailand, it was not so simple to have a 100% foreign direct investment. Vietnam offers that. I was surprised also for the incentives, what you got, and I found it very sexy to transfer if you have one-time profit without to pay any fees and without to pay to have any problems back to Germany or back to Europe. Another people who invested in China or in India or the Philippines, they told me different stories, and that's why I choose Vietnam. Of course, for BPO, and we are a company, Digitex, we are not software developer. We are 1,000 people around, and we're doing BPO, business process outsourcing, whatever that is, and whatever people understand under business process outsourcing. But this is a business where you need a lot of employees. Not from the universities, employees you can find here everywhere, in the Mekong Delta, in Ho Chi Minh City, or also in Da Nang. That's why I think that Vietnam, it's a very, very good location for us, for IT business, and I hope also government understand IT business is not only software development. There's a lot of other services what you can do, and so we stood here, we're growing, and I think we will stay here also in the next years.
Thank you so much, Frank. Talking about the people, anyway, I read a paper from TechCrunch. I think the issue is April 2015, and they said that Vietnam is a very good destination for outsourcing, but only for small companies. You have like from 100 to 1,000 person maximum. But if you want to go for outsourcing of a data center up to 5,000 or more than 5,000, employees, that would take us, they predict that it would take us like 10, at least 20 more years to do. 20 more years to go to data center outsourcing. How about you, Michael?
Okay, so talking about why Vietnam and why come to Vietnam. When Logicgear came to Vietnam, we'd already been in Silicon Valley for a little over 10 years, and Vietnam was still an untapped market, meaning the potential was huge. At least in Silicon Valley, Outsourcing in India was very well known. People had been outsourcing for a few years. It was well known. The potential wasn't as big. The growth possibility wasn't as big. Same for China. China was very well understood. People knew what outsourcing in China was going to be like. But Vietnam was untapped. It was a little bit unknown. And different than many other companies, Logigear decided that we were going to specialize in software testing. And we were going to specialize in software test automation. And we were going to bring software test automation product development to Vietnam. And in that way, we decided that we could mold the industry a little bit more. We could set more direction instead of only being me too. Like Logigear has always tried to avoid being a me too. Well, you go into a customer and say, well, we sell outsourced services in Vietnam, and they say, oh, just like India, just like China. We didn't want that. That's a very difficult position to be in, that you're just me too, me too, me too. And we decided we were going to specialize. And in a way, Logigear helped contribute to this building of testing and quality assurance, having Vietnam be a center. And I remember a survey, it might have been 2007, 2008, that said that Vietnam's expertise was in gaming and software testing, which was great. It was great. So globally, I think one of the reasons why we came to Vietnam was because we could have more influence in shaping the industry, and Vietnam has really turned into an excellent location for software testing and software test automation, and it's known globally for that. If anybody has any reservation about sending maybe software development or product development work or BPO to, you say BPO, people say, oh, go to Philippines. That there are certain places that have expertise. Vietnam really has an expertise now in software testing and test automation. So in a way, that really impacted our reason to come here, is the ability to shape the industry. That now we have this big foundation, and now we do so many other services. Now we do product development, and we do software development here in Vietnam. But it being an untapped market and the ability to shape the future was one of the main reasons why we came here.
Okay, thanks so much, Michael. Can you pass it to Yusei? Yeah.
Okay, I'm from KDDI. KDDI is Japan's telecommunication carrier, providing services not only in Japan and overseas. To enhance customer satisfaction, KDDI decided to provide some network center in Southeast Asia so that we can provide more better services for the customers. Mm-hmm. And actually, the reason we choose Vietnam, we have actually two reasons. One is Vietnam is located in the center of Southeast Asia, so we can fly to any Asian countries within maybe 2 hours. And also, Ho Chi Minh has very less natural disasters because we provide the services 24 hours and 7 days basis, so we cannot stop any services. So that is one of the reasons to choose Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. But one more, the most important thing is that here we have many talented people who has eagerness to study and who is very young people. So that is the main reason we choose Ho Chi Minh for our new center.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I just want to remind you that you are distributed with the paper for your questions. If you want to raise a question directly, you can raise a question directly, or you can just write down, and then I can transmit that to the different panelists. So I have the first question from Gemma Quinn from Liquid Interactive. Is the person here? All right. Thank you, Gemma. The question is to Michael. The question is about how do you ensure your clients' data and market-sensitive information is appropriately controlled and not compromised?
Okay. This is a big concern for many of our clients, right? How do we provide for that security? And we do it a couple of ways. One is physically. When we have clients, luckily we have a big enough office that we can have sectioned off areas where you need a badge to get into that, and they are project specific. So if you work for client X, only people who work for client X can get into that area, and the network is many times sectioned off where nobody else in the company can access that network. So it's unique. where I'm thinking of a couple of specific clients, we have to follow the same exact security guidelines that they would for their employees, for example, in the US or in Japan, where they have to go through background checks, they have to give resumes, we have to get references to see the physical partition where they say, okay, you cannot go. I had a meeting just on Wednesday in one of those rooms, and I had to knock on the door. I'm a co-founder in the company. I had to knock on the door, and somebody had to let me in, and they said, I don't know if we can let you in here. You're not allowed on the 4th floor. So I said, okay, so I can't get in this room. We have to go outside the 4th floor for the meeting because I don't have that company's security access. So it's a physical as well as a personal level of security on a network. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I have other question. This is anonymous to Mr. Huan Anh Tien. And could you please share your view on critical success factors for a software outsourcing company? Please share your view on critical success factors for a software outsourcing company.
You have it?
You have any success factors?
I don't know. Really, I don't know. A lot of people ask me this question when around 4 years we grow about 3,000 to 10,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Evan is my boss, asked me, why like that? I always say I am very, very lucky man. It's a one.
It's not your marketing team?
Yeah. But we think it's very, very important. We need to understand our customer, what they need. They need for cheaper, yes. Every people thinking for cut costs. Every company in the world now thinking for cut costs. We need to answer how to cut costs. They need for quality. You know, the Japanese people, they always talking. Okay, cheaper is good, but I need to quality. I need for process. For Japanese people, they always say is our business culture. You need to keep your commitment for time delivery. What you talk and what you're doing is exactly the same. For Japanese people, they always say you need to keep very top of quality. Not easy. We need to answer that. And also, we speak Japanese. One of our success. A lot of people not understand. A lot of India people not understand why Infosys, Wipro, and TCS can very success in many countries, but they're not success in Japan. Because we speak Japanese language. Even our customer can speak English. And not only for the working time. One thing is Vietnamese people is better than others. Not only for working time. We share with our customer, Japanese customer, American customer, and even in Germany. We share with them even is a free time, relax time. We always invite them join with us to eat the phở and nem in our apartment. Yes. We always want to invite family join with our team to join even with the kid. Yeah. I think I can say a lot of things if I have time. I don't care for share that because I need more Vietnamese company to success the same with same like EXO. Yeah.
Thank you, Anh. Mr. Nguyễn Lê Quang, can you identify yourself? Yeah. Nguyễn Lê Quang. Yeah. This question to whom that you want to raise?
Frank.
Frank?
Yeah.
Frank?
Yeah.
The Vietnamese guy? Okay. Mr. Nguyễn Lê Quang from GE Solvay, and then this question is to Frank, right? Okay. How Vietnamese IT SMEs can connect and do outsourcing for IT SMEs in Germany? What are the requirements from German partners?
As for German partners, 10 years ago, the requirements were actually when they were looking for outsourcing was the price, the quality, and maybe data security. This changed now. First is, are I allowed to do that in Vietnam? Vietnam is out of European Union. Vietnam is not considered as a very safe country for data security or something. Am I allowed? Then can I get the quality I need? Of course, Japan and Germany have high quality standards, and the price is actually when you have the first condition, you fulfill the first condition. So the price is then actually the easy thing in behind, because what we have heard today from the costs, Vietnam is very competitive to the countries around, or with the classical countries like India or China or Philippines. The next comes to the technology. So how I can work with Germany technology-wise, for instance, do I have to write lines, internet lines? Is the infrastructure good enough or something? And this is in Vietnam, in my opinion, better as in the countries around nowadays. So we thought always we are in Vietnam a little bit behind when we looking this, when we have downtime, how many times or how long it takes in internet or in power. And we are in Quantum Software City as a special business park for software and BPO. We can say we fulfill now each requests and demands from customers, or also in Germany.
So this question for Michael. So you've been here for 15 years, and I'm with a company that's just starting out, and it's a lot of challenge. So is it easier for you now, being 15 years into the business, than when you started, or are you still facing a lot of the same challenges?
Is so much more mature now. I think 15 years ago it was already existing. Some people have been here for more than 15 years, but the market was much more immature. It was raw, and the market is much more mature now. We talk about how difficult it is to get employees, but you can get employees. There are lots of liaison with universities, so getting employees, keeping employees, getting office space, getting good connection. When we started, we were in Quang Trung Office Park. That was like Ang said, it took forever to get out there, and even the internet connection was up and down every day. The infrastructure around is so much better today than it was even 5-10 years ago. The infrastructure is so much better today. So I think it's easier, and I also think it's easier because Vietnam is now much more recognized today as on the same playing field with, we keep mentioning India and China, but on the same playing field with Ukraine, Romania, Poland, Russia, Philippines. We're in the same playing field now. So I think it's a much more mature market. The employees are more mature. I know one of the things that made India so successful when it was so successful is India had so many H-1B, if anybody knows about visas in the US, so many H-1B visas in the US that when the dot-com crash happened and a lot of the H-1B visas got canceled, so many Indians went back to India, and all of a sudden you had thousands of people who had great English skill, US job experience, US corporate experience, US management experience, US graduate degrees all over India. It made it very easy for companies to take some US jobs and send them to India because the employees had been in the US 6 months a year earlier. That did not exist in Vietnam 15 years ago. There weren't so many overseas Vietnamese who'd come back. There were some, but not so many. Now we've had 15 years of significant software development that now we have middle layer managers. We have senior managers who are Vietnamese that we didn't have 15 years ago. We have university professors who have years of experience in the US and now are running computer institutes in Vietnamese universities. So the infrastructure is so much better. It's a much more mature market, and it's more recognized around the world for being a safer, more stable market than it was 15 years ago. 15 years ago was unknown. Now it's a world player.
Okay, so we have another question here. I think this question I will, is sent to any speaker, any panelist, but I will invite you say to answer to this question. This question relates to TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Japan is not a member of TPP yet. Is that right? It is. It is. Japan is a member. Oh, cool. That's cool. So the question is, how do you envision TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, to impact Vietnam outsourcing industry, pro and the con? If this is it's not your piece of meat, you can transmit that to Tieng or Michael. And Michael talked a lot already. So,
Yeah, I talked a lot.
Yeah. Frank, maybe Frank, can you answer the question? The TPP?
It's not my.
Okay, it's not your piece of meat too.
Frankly speaking, I'm not so familiar with TPP, but TPP may enhance so I think many Japanese goods come to here, and so I think the telecommunication between Japan and Vietnam for TPP company will increase more. So that means that for KDDI is providing telecommunication service to them. So our the requirement to us may increase further. So I think we may need to be more provide better services to the people coming to here. So I'm just thinking, but I think that the requirements, quality requirements to telecommunication service will become much more than now. I think that's very small. But
Thanks. You say?
My question is more open to the panel, I think. But what I would like to understand is, we've heard all in the presentations today that communication and soft skills has been a challenge that we have to overcome. In your experience with being in Vietnam for so long, what are some of the things that you have done and implemented that has helped bridge that gap?
Thank you. Is your first name?
Mush Handa.
Mush. Okay. This is a question from Mush.
Teach the people how to behave, and in all ranges, as a business-like to each other, or in the traffic, there's rules, and rules means nothing if you don't control it, or the meaning of such things. And you can see that it's going better, and this is also, in my opinion, the basic that you can get some good business results. Because if the soft skill, if you don't know about geography or about culture or what customer expect, you cannot deliver products or services which they can use. Still a problem. We cannot solve it. It must be solved actually by the schools, by maybe government decisions, how to educate it, the Ministry of Traffic, how to behave outside on the streets or something. But it's actually it's better than before.
Thank you so much.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I run all the training that we do in our offices, and one of the things that we've done, I totally agree, we have all these training classes, doing business with Americans, customer service, cross-cultural this, cross-cultural that, all these soft skills. And one of the things we've had to do is, I hope this doesn't offend anybody, we had to break the Vietnamese learning mechanism.
Exactly.
Where, right, instead of sitting in a classroom, or when I did my presentation, I talk about this lab, that our training is not just PowerPoint slides. Our training is exercise, exercise, exercise. And so many of the trainings we do, we play games. It's been a charge that I've taken to myself to say, every hour we have to play a game. It doesn't matter whether the game is about, we talk about team building and we play games with throwing balls. We learn about cross-cultural something, and people have to get on the phone and order pizza. Is every topic we talk about, every class we play these games. And the great thing about that is there is a cultural mindset to how people learn if they've grown up in Vietnamese schools. And it's been my job to break that. And to have a whole different mechanism for learning. And the great thing, so many people this morning mentioned that the Vietnamese love that now. Especially young people love the new methods, new ways of learning, new activities. So soft skill training is not, we have to sit around and talk about team building for an hour. Is we throw balls at each other and we order pizza. And these whole different methods that we use to learn has had a big impact in significantly elevating the soft skills. Not just incrementally, not just a little bit, but kind of moving into the new century with the new, especially with Agile and so much communication and retrospectives. In an Agile retrospective, you're supposed to criticize the process. Well, if you grow up in an education environment where you cannot criticize, it's going to fail. So we've had to work at, okay, we're going to get you to criticize today, and we're going to talk about criticizing. Yeah. So playing games, incorporating games has been really important in the way that we teach soft skills and getting soft skills to become real instead of just theory.
See it too. Any other questions from the floor? Okay, one more question.
You know, what kind of challenge that you faced and how did you overcome those to make the testing service out of Vietnam is not a Me Too type service?
In the US, Hung, who spoke this morning, he co-wrote a book with Kem Kainer called Testing Computer Software. It's the biggest selling testing book of all time, still today. And Hung and Kem Kainer started teaching a class at UC Berkeley. So they taught it at UC Berkeley, they started at UC Santa Cruz. I teach at UC Berkeley, I teach at UC Santa Cruz. We became experts, we became recognized in Silicon Valley as experts. We have another employee, Hans Boada from Holland. He wrote a book on test automation. So we had a reputation in Silicon Valley for being great testers and test automation. And that it made it much easier for us to say, we have expertise, we have expert practices, we know how to do this. And I think because so many other companies focused as generalists, they said we do so many things, and we said we specialize. We specialize in this one thing. And we focused most of our clients, I think all of our clients for the first maybe 5 years were all in Silicon Valley. They knew us already, or they knew our company already. So we treated it like, well, Vietnam it's the same office, but it's a different office building. Different office building in the same company. So we had to build trust. We had to do a couple of things to get over the hurdle of outsourcing first. But I think you really have to have credibility. Credibility is very important. So how you get over the hurdle is you have to have some kind of credibility. You can't just say, oh, I do that. You can't just say, oh, we're good in that. We're good in that field. You have to have some credibility. You have to have some success story. You have to have something about you that differentiate, right? We talked about differentiating. You have to be able to differentiate yourself. So you have to build some success story, build some case study, write a book, write an ebook. I have a friend, a British friend, he wrote a book on mobile testing, right? And it was a PDF, and he distributed it for free. Next thing you know, he started to get offered conference talks. He said, okay, come and talk about mobile testing at our conference, because we have nobody else talking about mobile testing. Now he's probably one of the global experts. Julian is one of the global experts in mobile testing because he wrote a book. So you have to establish credibility. You can't just say, me too, yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do BPO, me too. Companies are smarter than that. You have to have credibility.
Thank you. Michael? Any other questions? Let me see if we still have time for another question. We have 4 more minutes, is that right? Okay. Very short question. Anybody? Okay, so I will take this opportunity just to say thank you to the panelists, and this, your story, your experience in Vietnam and with IT, outsourcing companies and experience doing the market in Vietnam is really very informative for at least for me. I hope that that will be the same for the audience here, right? Okay, thank you so much, people.
The next question, sorry, the previous one was actually from KMS. This one is from CMC Software. Can you share with us your delivery process to make sure that there is no gap between the end client requirements and the development team understanding? That was the question. Alex, are you in the room? Would you like to clarify? Okay, maybe he's not. Maybe we skip it. Okay, the next one is the next one is from Larion Software, And the question is how to win trust from European American client, especially from medium ITO firm without significant branding. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge for sure. I would recommend to again to focus on your strong sides and try to understand how could we be different from other players that are approaching the same client. Just in many cases, if you manage to differentiate yourself, yeah, there is a good chance that you will get the deal.
I agree totally with that. Differentiation is the point. If you have a focus, you know, the challenge is organizations are so desperate for business that they'll talk to anybody about anything. So yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. What can you do? I can do anything. The answer is that a client will not talk to you if you can do everything, because what they're looking for is expertise and experience and knowledge. So better to have a focus. It may be you've done some work in the media industry or the automotive industry. So it's better to go to those sorts of clients and say, hey, I understand your industry and we've done lots of work in that environment, so can we talk to you? And normally it's a very good way of getting into a client when you start.
And the last question is, I don't know who it's from, but the question is, some people say working in Japanese company is not easy to get to high level of position. Is this correct?
IVC は、100%、ISB の出資ですけども、ほとんど社長1人以外は全員ベトナムの人です。で、昇進が難しいことは全然ありません。
In our IVC, there is only the president of IVC is Japanese. All the other members are Vietnamese, so it's not very difficult to get to high level.
IVC はいつでも社員を歓迎しますので、ぜひ入社してください。
And we are IVC, and we welcome you. So please come to IVC to make your progress to become high level.
Just like to make one announcement, and that is that I'm getting very old. Ong Paul, getting very old, grandfather. And therefore, in the fullness of time, we will need a new CEO. And I would welcome a Vietnamese CEO. Okay, so the offer's out there.
Thank you very much. And the last question is, Vietnamese engineers are not very good in English. What do you do to help resolve this issue, if any?
Yeah, we do try to install the trainings, and not only in English language, but also in English accent. Just in many cases, we see that employees, they do have pretty good language skills, but unfortunately, due to the accent, it's difficult to understand and communicate. So we think that Justin should help us a lot. And unfortunately, in some cases, we should have to install, to invite managers from other locations just to be an interface. For instance, when you need to talk with the client regularly. But again, the goal is to have a team in Vietnam to be pretty eager to speak English and communicate directly with the clients.
We have our own language school embedded inside our business, which freshers have to attend, conversational as well as written English. We have online training for languages, and we also take our entire business globally, and every one of our sales and consultants and front-end person is tasked to make at least 5 telephone calls per week to our Vietnamese team to have a half-hour conversation in English. And I would agree with the accent problem. pronunciation in English is important. And I think you can come to Harvey Nash and you can learn the Queen's English, or you can go to Luxor and learn Russian English. You can take your choice.
I would like to thank all of the panel participants for being here today. But more importantly, I would like to thank you for sharing on this journey with Vietnam to improve the ICT industry in Vietnam. And I would like to leave you with one final thought, which is the same thing that I have been thinking over the last 14 years now. If you outsource to Vietnam, the return on investment for you as well as for Vietnam as a country is only going to be so much. So the next step is for you to help Vietnam to export, to create startups that export products from outside of Vietnam to the world in the movement called reverse innovation, right? So this is my dream for the last 14 years, and I'm happy to announce that on December 1st, 2015, Microsoft will launch the first startup accelerator in Vietnam. There are only 7 in the world, and Vietnam is the 8th country to have this. And I would like all of the speakers and investors to think about that, because to do good for Vietnam in the long term, outsourcing is not going to cut it. The return on investment will be capped to the number of people that you can hire. But intellectual property is valueless, and if you can invest in that intellectual property to create wealth for both Vietnam and the investor, that is the next step of the Vietnam journey toward the ICT industry. So I thank you, all of you, for being here today. And once again, I appreciate you being on this journey with all of us. Thank you.
Okay, I'm honored today to be with some really talented executives here in Vietnam. Everybody here has many years of experience recruiting IT people, and the objective of our panel today is to share with you practical tips that you can apply right away to recruit, attract, and retain great IT talent in Vietnam. My name is Chris Harvey. I'm the founder and CEO of ITVic, which is an online recruiter specializing in IT in Vietnam. And I'll let the other panelists introduce themselves.
All right, thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here to share with you our experience. And my name is Mai. I'm the Regional Director for Navigo Search. the first and the biggest executive search company in Vietnam now. More information about me, you can find it in the booklet of the conference, page 48, to save time. Okay.
Thank you. I'm James Galvin. I'm the founder and CEO of Glandor Systems. I'm from Ireland originally. I've been here for a number of years. Glandor Systems is a human resources technology company. Our main product is called vSource. It's a talent sourcing platform that's used by some of the top internet companies in the world to help connect them to candidates for their internal roles, mostly in the US and also in Europe.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jovian Ho. I'm a COO and co-founder of the Agility Company, a software company based in Washington, D.C. I'm originally in Vietnam. I'm born in Vietnam, but I live in the U.S. for a long time. And I'm a software company, and we build exclusively software for software firm in the U.S. only, but we do have operations here in Vietnam.
Hello, my name is Trương Tiến Vũ. I'm from Duy Tân University in Da Nang City, a very beautiful city in the middle of Vietnam. My background is computer science, and I know just a little bit of software engineering and software development. But I have 1,500 students blood to take care. So maybe in the future, some of them will become your employee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We are going to be asking, or I'm going to be asking questions of each of the panelists. And if the other panelists, if you want to add to that, please jump in. Actually, as the regional director of the largest executive search company here, you must be in a good position to see a lot of the trends in IT labor market. Would you share some of those with us?
Okay, thank you, Chris, for the information, for the questions. We, of course, on the bright side, everyone already say good things about the Vietnamese populations, like the young generations here, eager to learn and with sharp skills and good attitude, so on and so forth. But for the new investors who are preparing to come to Vietnam and invest in Vietnam in this area, and also for the current companies, we also need to be aware of some challenges in finding good talents here. Now we have seen that the trend that we have a lot of foreign and invested companies coming to Vietnam, leading to the kind of booming requirements for high quality engineers. And we can see that there are a lot of demands, but limited resources for the quality engineers in a lot of different languages like PHP, .NET, Java developers. And those are the positions that we have received a lot of requirements from our clients. So from Navigo Search database, we have seen that the demand for those positions have jumped up this year by 34% year on year. However, the talent supply, it's also increased, but it's not catch up with the pace.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where is the demand coming from?
The demand is actually coming from a lot of foreign invested companies. They are coming in here to set up the data center. Also, a lot of companies investing in game online and then mobile software development. We also receive a lot of job requirements from the local companies who are preparing themselves to catch up with the increasing orders from their clients all over the world. So yes, the job orders coming from the foreign investors, but also from the local companies. Yeah, and that is the first trend. Secondly, we have seen that it could be a big trend of the Vietnamese overseas who come and study abroad and also worked abroad for some times. and now they are coming back. They are considering coming back to fill in the gaps. Many companies, they want to recruit high quality engineers and especially the mid-manager level. But then the local market is not ready to supply so many headcounts for them. So Vietnamese overseas are coming back now. And for many difficult positions, we are also receiving the request to get the people who are expats, the expat specialists coming here to train up the local team and more or less like hand over, transfer the knowledge and the know-how. Yeah. So those are some typical trends that we have observed in the labor market in Vietnam for IT industry recently.
Okay, thank you. Actually, you mentioned that IT hiring is jumped up even a lot this year. Other panelists, are you seeing the same thing, and where do you think this is coming from? James.
Yeah, well, definitely. So Mai mentioned it, and everybody mentioned it, is that we're seeing a situation where the demand for talent is significantly outgrowing the supply. It's something we've seen before in Ireland. We've seen it in west coast of the US, where there becomes a war for talent. When that happens, it puts an increasing importance on how you, as a company, differentiate yourself. Particularly for IT outsourcing, this is a big, big challenge here, because effectively we're all doing the same thing. So small differences here and there in the technologies and the market, but more or less from the perspective of a potential employee, there's really very little difference between what you will actually be doing in one IT outsourcing company from another. So this need to differentiate yourself, really,
Dr. Chung, are you seeing, about how many graduates are there every year in IT in Vietnam?
Okay. To answer the question, I want to provide for you some exciting number. Up to now, in Vietnam, we have around 280 universities and colleges that offer IT training. And every year, we recruit around 40,000 IT students in the first year. And the actual number of IT students now is around 200,000 students. So every year, there are around 40,000 students graduate from IT training.
Sorry, is that all IT? Is that software development? Is that all ICT?
Yeah. That's all of software development, computer science, and electronics and telecommunication, etc. Yes, around this.
Okay, and you and your colleagues must be doing something right to attract all of these foreign companies who want to hire Vietnamese talent. Can you describe a little bit about the education, IT education in Vietnam?
Okay, as in this morning session, we can hear there are lots of speakers talking about the university and the relationship between the university and the industry. We also think that in the viewpoint of the university, we also have the big challenge of IT training. The challenge is how to train in the engineer who can adapt with the labor market's need. And I think that nowadays the university in Vietnam have very good movement in the way how to adapt this transition. For example, we have 4 or 5 universities have the ABES or AUN accreditation. The other universities are following some modern, some innovation, educational training. For example, they are follow CDIO, for example. Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chung. Ms. Mai, you had something to add.
Yeah, Actually, Chris, your question reminded me of one thing. Because before joining Navigos, I worked for a high-tech company. And at that time, we had to answer to the board of directors the question that why Vietnam? Okay? And one thing that brought out and actually helped us to convince the board of directors to put investment in Vietnam, it was because, like Jay mentioned, the young population here. This morning we will share that 70% of the Vietnamese population is actually under the age of 40. And to the high-tech company, my previous company in particular, it is so important to bring in the young people who are creative, still have fresh mind, you know, so that they can create more solutions. And those young people, if they got the right fundamental education, then they would be trainable, and they would be much more higher value to asset to the company. And that is exactly the reason why that company decided to increase their investment in Vietnam for that company.
And how has that worked out?
It was great because they started with the total number of employees of 90 people, and now it's already 50 people. 500 people, and their talents is actually in a very niche market. You know, they are working on the memory design for the semiconductor industry. Very hard to find in the local market, and when they are trained, they are great. Yeah.
So it sounds like there's a favorable demographic surge happening in Vietnam. Plus, great IT talent is challenging to find anywhere, so demand is coming into Vietnam. This brings us to the next thing I want to talk about, which is what are some of the strengths of Vietnamese IT people? Mr. Jovian, maybe you could share your thoughts.
Well, let me add the little comment for the last question. I think one of the reasons that more and more companies go to Vietnam because, like in the U.S., for example, Indian and China and Russian dominate outsourcing in Vietnam in the U.S. I think Vietnam not very well known in the U.S., but now more and more companies begin to get to know Vietnam, and the rate in Vietnam is still a lot lower, or not, if not the lowest. Like you mentioned, the population is very young, but the challenge is to find the senior people is tough. You find a lot of young, sharp people, even 1-2 years experience, but most of them become a star, and they're very good. That's my experience. For your question,
what are some of the strengths of Vietnamese developers?
Well,
or Vietnamese IT?
I think most of them are very smart people. Especially the company I work with, they recruit people from the top university, and people work very hard. I think they have very good college education training, but the experience too, you know, light. But they work hard. So I think that's the strength of that.
So hardworking, that's a strength. James, do you have something to share?
Yeah, I agree. There's generally, Vietnam is strong in science and technology, but more than that, also, we have access to the top 1% of graduates and of talent here. We would not have access, a company like mine anyway, a smaller company would not have access to these guys in the US. They'd all be working for Google or for Facebook or something like that. So you can come to Vietnam, and if you position yourself well and if you put a lot into your talent acquisition, you can actually hire the cream of the crop. So, it's quite a very strong workforce to begin with, and we have access to the very, very best people here.
Okay, so not as much competition. There's no Googles of Vietnam.
Exactly,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else want to share any other strengths? Ms. Mai?
Actually, you know, you don't ask me because I'm a Vietnamese. So I'm very proud of our Vietnamese candidates here. So they are competent, and key thing is that they are eager to learn and to grow. And they know that Vietnam is receiving great opportunities to actually go out to the world, and that the engineers, the young engineers here, I haven't seen anyone hesitating to grab those opportunities. So no doubt,
You know, I would add to that. In my experience, and I could almost feel it the first time I came to Vietnam, which was 9 years ago. And I've been recruiting people for 9 years. Vietnamese love to learn. They love it. And there's a real hunger for that. And combined with the hardworking and the intelligent nature of the people and the great demographic bulge, there's certainly some advantages. Now, James, I want to move back to, let's focus now on how, and share with our audience how we can, the best we can attract and grab the great talent here in Vietnam. And you talked about employer brand. Could you first describe, I think there's a lot of confusion about what employer branding is. Could you, in your own words, what do you describe as an employer brand?
Well, how you differentiate your company now, most people do it, I think, through the perspective of customers. So we talk about our core values are relating to quality and customer focus and ability to deliver and things like this. But actually, the real competition now, it's getting more intense on the other side, which is relating to your talent, to attracting talent and to retaining talent. So we need to brand ourselves for that also. It starts with re-examining the core values of your company, to really trying to figure out what you stand for, what makes you unique in this market. So we look, all these companies, all these tech companies, these outsourcing companies, probably all of them are hiring right now, and they're all chasing after the same person. So if you're a graduate in Vietnam, and you look at all of these companies that are hiring, you wouldn't know where to start. So as an outsourcing company, what happens then when you have this strong brand is that your recruiters, they become a brand ambassador for your company. So recruitment as a function becomes less than ever about administration or less about human resources. It's more shifting towards a kind of a marketing or sales position, because you're selling the culture of your company. And when you talk to a prospective employee, you're selling them on what you stand for and why you, and you're connecting with this person. So yeah, it's only going to grow in importance as the demand increases.
So in other words, recruiting is sales, and the product is selling your company. Working at your company is your product.
Yeah, exactly. And what you see with large tech companies in the US now who have a similar war for talent is that they have been abandoning their old recruitment systems like Taleo, and they've been moving on to CRMs, candidate CRMs, candidate relationship management systems like Avature. So it's because you're no longer looking at your recruitment system, your software like a database of candidates. It's more about relationships. So the recruiter must immerse themselves in the industry, in the community, get involved in events, get to know people, and continually spread the message of what the company stands for.
Jo Vien, in your experience, what do Vietnamese IT and developers, what do they value in choosing a job?
Well, in my case, I don't hire people directly. We go through a contractor firm here. However, once we select the people, like you said before, it's very important that we have to create a sense of who they work for. Even they work for a contractor firm, I want them to think they work for us in the U.S. So in our office here, it's just like our office in America. And we send people from here to America to work with us for 6 months or 3 months, and vice versa. And not everybody in the U.S. know everybody here, and vice versa. And one thing we have tried to avoid is they versus us, because we had tendencies that they in Vietnam, but they don't know who they are and relate. So it's very important to build a team, a relationship. Even you may not know each other's face or work with it together, but it's very important to have good relationship. And so, you know, I think that's like one of the key parts, the relationship of work together and know each other.
Yeah, so from my perspective, we used to always ask this question in interviews. We'd ask the candidate, so what are you looking for in a company? the most common answer we get is a professional work environment, but I've never really figured out what that exactly
blah,
means.
blah, blah. I hear that.
Yeah. So I mean, from a very practical standpoint, one thing that's very attractive is our English program. So a number of people will join because they have the ability to learn English during work hours, communicate with foreigners a lot, and they have foreigners in the company where they can practice speaking. And this is a very simple thing, and in the beginning I didn't realize it would be such a major issue, but it is the clincher in many cases of candidates.
The English benefit.
English benefit, and kind of a mixed environment with a lot of people from overseas and customers coming in, and being able to do a Skype call with your project manager overseas and these kind of things.
So, Ms. Mai, here I see you nodding a lot, and you're in a position to work with a lot of companies and also talk to a lot of candidates. So, in your experience and your interactions with the candidates, what are they valuing when they're making choices?
Okay, so because we are talking a lot with the Vietnamese employees, so here is something that the Vietnamese candidates often share to us. Because in Vietnam, the Vietnamese people, they rely a lot on word of mouth. Okay, so before considering an opportunities, they always do some background check. They check around about the company, the name of the companies, whether it's a reputable company or not, and what they are often paying a lot of attention to is that they want to understand about the leadership. Okay, the leadership, whether the leadership is actually walk the talk or not. Okay, and they check with the people who are working in that company already to get the feedback. They want to understand that that environment, whether the company would enable them to grow their career. You know, if the company's got a clear career ladder for them to move up, then they would be very committed, very interested in joining that company. And they want to understand if their line manager, the boss, could take care of them as the person or not. Because, you know, the Vietnamese employees, they are somehow quite emotional. They want like a kind of emotional relationship with the bosses, with the colleagues, you know. And last but not least, they would want to see the fairness in the company's pay scheme. And those are the questions that the candidates normally they would want to put onto us. And then one thing very general is that most of the candidates, they are interested in seeing whether that company is a good member of the society or not. So CSR is actually a very good tool for the employers' branding activities for all the companies here. Yeah.
You know, we were speaking earlier before the panel, James, and you mentioned that there's a class of candidate who speaks English very, very well, and they're very slick, and but they sometimes are not great employees, and it might be the employees that aren't great in English or have halting English that can be really super developers.
Yeah, exactly. This is something in technology specifically, not just in Vietnam, but everywhere, but more so in Vietnam, is that tech people sometimes might underrepresent themselves in the interview process. And if you're a foreigner, if you're a foreign company, maybe you require a high standard of English, these kind of outgoing candidates who speak very smoothly, then they overrepresent themselves, and it introduces some biases that the interviewers might not be aware of in the hiring process, and you've got to be extra careful about that.
Okay, thank you. A couple more questions. Dr. Chung, or I'm going to ask everyone this. What do you think is the biggest area for improvement for Vietnamese ICT?
Okay. This morning we talk more about the communication skill, the English, as you discussing. In the viewpoint of university, I think the practical skill of the student is also the big challenge right now. As you know, it's for a long time. The IT training curriculum more a lot of theory and lack of practice. But nowadays, it changes a lot. There are lots of university apply the modern, the practical approach in IT training. And I believe that in the future, the next generation of IT engineer in Vietnam will improve practical skill. And also with the relationship of industry, we will improve the practical skill of the student also. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chung. And actually, we have time for one more because I just got a question. Anyone want to add to that? A big area, in your opinion, the biggest area for improvement? I have one if nobody else does.
Well, I don't see, I mean, there are a number of practical skills and technical skills that you know, we'd like to see. In Dr. Lay's presentation earlier, he touched on a few as well, even something as practical as unit testing, which every developer these days needs to know how to do, and might not be something you learned in university. But I see the soft skills as being a bigger issue. So the ability to maybe to communicate more effectively.
Proactively.
Yeah, and proactively, especially, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I found that Vietnamese developers can be excellent technically. What I found, and I think this is just a matter of time actually in this market, is the very high level sort of product thinking or leadership or technical architect. We have a lot of customers that just, in fact, whenever a customer asks us for a technical architect, I say, oh no, you got to go to a headhunter. I don't do that. Because we excel at the middle to a little bit higher level developers. But anything really senior is really not suitable for us. It's more suitable for a headhunter. But I think that will come with time. But and actually, those of you may know that there was a really big Aussie product company, Atlassian, entered Vietnam a few years ago, and they announced a few weeks ago, to many of our disappointment, that they are pulling out. They are closing their office in Vietnam, and the reason for that is because they could not find the ultra high level talent. And I met them, they were a customer of ours, probably a customer of yours as well. I met them several times, and my takeaway, I was shocked that they were trying to do what they were trying to do. They were basically trying to develop a product at a level of what you might do in San Francisco.
I would like to add that, first of all, in Vietnam, you have a comfortable of not having a very effective trade union, because the trade union is controlled by the government. Of course, at the TPP, you have to, I mean, Vietnam has to allow to establish an independent trade union, but it's not with the policy of the government. And anyway, you will enjoy like very cooperative trade union. You don't have a strike or anything like that in Vietnam. And the basic salary is in Vietnam is low and very competitive, and more importantly, if you do things like cloud or very challenging technology, you will be qualified as high-tech project. And Vietnam have a high-tech park. I don't know if any of you visit Saigon High-Tech Park, where we have Intel, Samsung over there. Very big investment. So far, Samsung already invested over $11 billion in Vietnam. It's the biggest asset of Korea outside of Korea. It's in Vietnam, and the Samsung is 20% of total export of Vietnam is from Samsung, and also same very big for Intel. So the hardware industry is here. And software industry hopefully soon to be here as well. And Microsoft also have a factory, I mean Nokia in Bắc Ninh in the north, big factory as well. LG also big. So why is that? Because Vietnam provide a very good, not only the good labor force, but also very good tax incentives. You will have 4 years tax exemption, 9 years tax reduction, 50%, and in the next 15 years, in the total 15 years, the tax rate is 10%. So 50% reduction is 5%, and a lot of reduction and incentive for that. And if you are high tech, you use high tech process, you can have, and you ask the Prime Minister, and Prime Minister agree, you can have up to 30 years tax concession rate of 10%. So there are plenty of incentives that explain why big companies like Intel or Samsung or LG or Microsoft invested in Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much.
One comment.
One comment. Only one.
Just one.
I'm going to cut you off.
What we all have to be careful about is when we start doing our homework on the business side, low cost is a dead-end street. When I go to a large company in Europe and I say we offer our services half price that India does or other known outsourcing countries, the inevitable thought in his head will be, does this company have a sustainable financial model? How long are they going to survive with this? So it's more than just low cost. Low cost is an attractive offer, but it is also the market differentiation, the product differentiation, it's the quality, it's the time. So it's the whole package.
Okay, good comment there. Now I know I'm going to pick up on one thing to counter your low cost. Since you mentioned Samsung, as you said, Samsung's invested 11, I think it's just gone up to $13 billion in this country, which makes it the single largest investor in the entire country. And a lot of that has gone into mobile telephones. Okay? By the end of 2016, they're targeting that 40% of their global production comes out of this country. Okay? And people say, well, why do they do that? Now, and on a cost thing, is if you look at the average cost of an engineer in the north of Vietnam to work in their factory, it was only about, I think it was about $400 a month. But when you compare the same person in China, it was about $600. And you say, well, that's not very much, it's only 200 bucks. But the only problem is they've got 120,000 people there. So do some maths. you know, they get ROI pretty quickly. So, but it's not just that. You know, what's happening is you know, Vietnam's become a real hub for mobile telephony. It's not just Samsung. We've got LG here. We have Nokia, which is now Microsoft. And so there are something like 250,000 workers in that sector. And yeah, they may start down here because it's pretty basic, but they're moving quite rapidly up the value chain. And with those type of investments, you know, the skill set that's being brought into the country is going very, very high. But anyway, I have 3 more questions here. I know time is against us, so let's hit these 3 questions really quickly. So I'm going to pick on you again, Cao Xiao, because you're in the States, and this question says, with clients in the US, how do you handle the time difference?
Oh, wow. That's one of the big challenge, yes. So it depends on where in US, California or in New York.
That's still 12 or 14
because
hours.
that's a 3-hour difference. so that has its own challenge. So for example, our East Coast client, we have 12-hour time zone difference, which I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's probably one of my top 3 challenge that is hard to overcome in a sales presentation with clients, because they say, hey, well, I can go to Costa Rica and it's in the same time zone literally, or Puerto Rico, and even Mexico now has a lot of engineers, etc. So the way we overcome is, first of all, we tell them the truth, which is that yes, it's a 12-hour time zone difference, and that means either your developers or development leads would have to sometimes work at Vietnam daytime, which is their night hours, or our guys and our leads will work in night hours. But when you're doing daily Scrum meetings, that's hard to sustain because people have lives too. So we basically alternate, and we try to build a good partnership rather than long-term partnership, because if we were employee of that company, they would treat us like a partner. So if you were working at an Intel with another Intel employee in Europe, you'd be willing to sacrifice your hours to be in a conference call at different time zones. So why not outsourcing partner if you're going to truly call them partner? So we work with those kind of clients only who are willing to do those things, and if they are not, then we don't want them as a client, because chances are we're going to do it for 6 months, 3 months, and after that we're going to hate each other and we're going to never succeed as a team. So that's how we have to do it. It is a challenge, you can't sugarcoat it. It's a 12-hour time zone, there is no way to work around it except just be truthful and tell them this is how we work. With California, it's slightly different issue, because California, our Vietnam team can participate early morning, which is their evening, and still catch them in the office. So it's a less of a challenge. It's more of a challenge with our East Coast client.
Okay, I have 3 more questions. Okay, so one is for Victor, and hopefully you can say this in 1 sentence. Okay? Could you? One very short sentence. Shorter than the question. Could you please recommend something to enter the new German market for a software outsourcing company? And I'll interpret the something to the one thing that a Vietnamese company here would need to do to break into that market, apart from, of course, contacting you.
May I ask which questions this is? Before I answer, or try to answer?
It's blank. It's an anonymous person. It wasn't me, really.
Okay, I mean, there is no recipe. It's the German market is probably the toughest one in Europe, because you have a relatively large number of very conservative old companies. Bosch. I mean, I was surprised yesterday when I heard that Bosch has a development center here.
Absolutely. 500 people?
Yeah. So it is really what you got to do with German customers is you got to give them extremely comfortable feeling about this software company in Vietnam. Like, will they meet my requirements? Quality is number 1, even though Volkswagen just failed a couple of weeks ago, but put that on the side. The number 2 is the whole relationship. As we talked about it here, it's, I mean, you know, the whole conversation, relationship via communication devices, that's one thing. But it's also, I live in Germany now for 30 years, I'm not German. It's the closeness to people that you get to, and it's not that easy. That's a challenge as well. So, the bottom line, there is no single answer. It is many things that you have to do to win their confidence and, you know, to eventually win them as a customer. However, there is a happy end with German customers. Once you want them, they stay with you. It's a very, very stable marriage.
So a long courtship, very long courtship. But once you get married, that's it forever. That's great.
You can't get away anymore.
Okay, thanks. So no divorce. Okay, thanks very much. Now, this is going to be the last question for the panel. Okay, and I'm going to ask this to each of you. Okay, so starting with Richard, what's the one thing that you believe that Vietnam outsourcing companies need to focus on in order to grab a bigger slice of the pie?
And outsourcing resources have a greater understanding of video, how the video life cycle is, all the way from the ingest and encoding through the packaging and distribution over the internet. That domain experience, I think, would go a long ways towards developing more confidence in putting out projects for development here in Vietnam.
Okay, thanks very much. And you, Kaushal, what's the one thing? And it's got to be different.
Yep. So I would say communication, and that's like people face-to-face communication or video conference, whatever it is. But being able to articulate is what I mean by communication, not just be able to speak English, but articulate to the other side on your thoughts, big picture. It's kind of like selling, but it's not really selling, it's just articulating and working on that. And earlier I said that, you know, the biggest thing is that challenge is the school system is not teaching that. and so somebody else has to teach them that, and it may as well be you because you are benefiting financially from having these employees.
Okay, so that comes to the end. I know there is one question, and Dr. Lei is saying, I got one last question, it's written here. But I'm going to turn the question around. His question was, what advice for the organisers of VNITO to make it better next time? Now, I'm not going to ask the panel, and I'm not going to ask VNITO organisers. I'm going to ask you guys, and I don't want you to answer now, but you are here, you came to this event to learn, to find out what Vietnam has got to offer, okay? And you learn, hopefully, something, okay? So if you were going to come again next year or some other point in the future, what is it that you want to see when you get here? What is it you want to learn? What is it that you want people to speak about? Okay, and you can contact any of the organisers, you can contact me or Dr. Lei, or I think there's some advisory people here, the blue things, I think, whatever. But contact us and let us know what it is that you want, so you tell us how we can help you, okay? Because we want to make Vietnam ITO really strong. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this last and excellent session. Thank you for all your questions, and I'd like to have a large round of applause for our 4 panelists.
Thank you very much, and everyone, thank you for staying with us for the whole long day. But it's not the end yet. Please come back at 6 p.m. We're going to have the gala dinner. We're going to rock and roll. Please come back.
Logigear makes a product called Test Architect, and it's, we like to say, made in Vietnam. The whole product is conceived of and made here in the offices in Ho Chi Minh City, and it's a test automation tool that every software development team needs a tool like this. So it's an important tool in the software development world today, and we make this product and we sell it all over the world. We have customers in Europe, customers in Japan, customers in the US, and the product, we like to say it's a Vietnamese product. So it's made here and it's maintained here, and we're on our 9th version. So it's been built here for a long time.
Yeah. So most of the people think that Vietnam is only outsourcing for the software, the ITs. We don't know about further. So what do you think about that? Is that true?
No, I don't think that's true, because we do a lot of R&D, we do a lot of research and development here in Vietnam, and we rely on the R&D. Our biggest software teams are here in Ho Chi Minh City, and we have smaller teams in Da Nang, but we rely on them for research and development. There are so many new languages that people write code, there are so many new platforms, and there's so many new types of products that people are making. Mobile applications, Internet of Things devices, medical devices, so many new things. How you develop them, how you test them, how they get made is all new. So we need R&D. We need research and development on every one of these platforms so that we can provide better services around the world. So R&D is really important, and since Ho Chi Minh City is our biggest office, we do most of the R&D here.
Yes. And the last question is, any plan so far for the Logigear working in Ho Chi Minh City?
We have been expanding. We continue to expand. We have 2 offices here in Ho Chi Minh City, and we have a big office in Da Nang. And I think that actually both offices will be getting larger. As the global economy gets better, I think we will be expanding in both of these sites.
Yes. And maybe one more question about the employee, about training your employee in Vietnamese. How about that?
Well, we take a lot of pride in doing a lot of training. We do significant training. We do technical training, we do soft skill training, communication, English language, project management. There is so much to know if you want to be a good software programmer, good software tester, in addition to writing code. So many things about how you work in projects that we need to do training on. So we have a very big training program. Our training program gets bigger and bigger every year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
running business forums in order to stimulate trade between our two nations, not just IT trade, but trade between our two nations. So I was asked some time ago, Douglas, welcome, do come and take a seat at our tech hub, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. And I'm really pleased today that I've got the support of Mr. Hung from VCCI and Mr. Douglas Barnes, the Consul General for the British government here in the United Kingdom, who are also going to say a few words, and shows you that the two governments are really supportive of what we're about to do. How do I find customers? Exactly the same challenge. How do I find customers abroad? How can I look at collaboration internationally? And so the idea that the governments have is that we should have a tech hub. And this has already been piloted in a very small way between Israel and the United Kingdom. So the Israel Tech Hub is already up and running, supported by the embassy, the British Embassy in Israel. But we're Vietnam, aren't we? So we want to do it better. We want to do it more professionally. We want it to be more interactive. So I'll explain what we're trying to do. The first thing is that the Tech Hub is not really anything to do with Harvey Nash. The fact that we've been asked to get on with it and do it, and I'm taking on the mantle of chair for this not-for-profit business, which is going to bring these companies together. And my objective is, after about 12 months, to step away and allow this to be run by the members that we create over the next year, so that it becomes self-sustaining and self-managing as two tech hubs with UK and Vietnamese people involved. And I dare say I'm still going to be around, but I'll be around if I'm wanted. So this is what it's all about: independent, not-for-profit. So this is going to be totally independently funded, and it's there to stimulate trade between our two countries. What are the objectives? Firstly, to encourage UK and Vietnam businesses to register, to put information up onto a website that will help people to identify them as a prospect or identify them as somebody they can do business with. And we'll have a search engine on board to allow people to search for similar types of businesses or for businesses that might fit their technology capability. It's going to be an access point for people to learn about the two countries and what's happening and what resources are available in those two countries.
We announced, how to say this, the regional and global integration of Vietnam is taking place with the AEC formation by the end of this year. The FTA with the EU and especially the TPP sure will create a lot of opportunity for trade and investment here in Vietnam. And we know that only application and development of technology and innovation can help increase the competitiveness of the Vietnamese businesses, and also help increase the value addition to our products and services. And the Vietnamese government also realizes that only through this innovation and technology, that can help Vietnam to participate in the higher level of the global chain. The Vietnam government is strongly committed to facilitate and support the tech company by many incentives like a tax break grants for the tech companies, and also through the infrastructure investment like high-tech park, software park, and improve the ICT connectivity. We see this UK Asia Tech Hub is really a good opportunity for Vietnamese company to connect with the UK and the other tech company in the world. And we hope that's on this occasion I would like also to thank all our partners and especially the Harvey Nest and Paul and his team for his efforts and financial support to develop the website and to manage the website. And I hope that we get a strong support from the local company to make this website successful. And once again, I do wish the UK Asia Tech Hub great success, and that's been benefit for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Introduction, and thank you also for the work that you've Harvey Nash have already done in this initiative. As Paul said, our Prime Minister came here in July, and it was the first visit by a British interim British Prime Minister actually visiting Vietnam. So it was quite a major event for us, as it was, I'm sure, for our Vietnamese host. And our Prime Minister made great emphasis on supporting the tech industry, the tech sector. In fact, he brought along a delegation of about 30 businesses with him, and at least 40% or more than 40% of that delegation was tech companies. Admittedly, the focus was on financial service technologies or fintech companies, but nevertheless it was an indication of the support for this industry. And both Prime Ministers endorsed the idea of a tech hub being established here. And thanks to Harvey Nash, the fact that they came on board very quickly and agreed at least to support the initiative to set it up for the first year. Vietnam was the only country of the 4 that the Prime Minister visited in July that actually made the announcement of this. So it's a major achievement for Vietnam. Going on forward, I highly recommend you join this technology tech hub, because it will offer you the opportunity, as Paul have already indicated, to communicate with UK companies in similar positions, and hopefully you will benefit in terms of partnerships as well as just sharing of knowledge and information, which is so crucial in your sector. I should also mention that only last week the Standard Chartered Bank and Dragon Capital, in partnership with a number of local tech companies, have established a Vietnam FinTech Club. So again, that's an indication of how serious the UK is taking this sector. And I hope that by establishing this tech hub, it will enable you, whether you're in the financial services sector or any other tech sector, be able to make full use of this. I should also say that my team, UK Trade and Investment in Vietnam, are currently recruiting UK companies in the fintech sector to visit Vietnam in January, where we'll be putting on a roadshow between Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi to introduce those fintech companies to local companies, either in the same sector or users of fintech. So again, it's an opportunity for this tech hub to support that. So once again, congratulations, Harvey Nash. And I should also mention the British Business Group Vietnam, who is our British chamber here in Vietnam, and they will be working closely with Harvey Nash to ensure that this tech hub is a success. And when Harvey Nash do step back after the year, it is likely that BBGV will be the main host and the main UK representative who will work with the VCCI. Thanks again, Paul.
Thank you, Douglas. This is just a preview of what the website is looking for and the registration process. The front page. The good thing about this is it's built in Vietnam. This is built by Vietnamese engineers in here in Vietnam, and it's going to be an advertisement for Vietnam technology in its own right. So we're already working, we've got a tailored resource center, so what we're doing is custom writing so that we are gearing it to the tech sector. And what we would say to you is that this is, as with any website, it's a constant development. It's ever changing. So feedback about what else we need to put on it, how we need to change it, how we can make it better, and feedback on content is going to be really critical from you guys so that we make this work for you. Because it's not for us, it's for you to make it work. To gain access, only validated businesses from both countries will be allowed to register. So you have to be a tech company, you have to be a company that's incorporated in some way, shape or form. This is not for business development by the legal services or by other people that might want to gain access to you on the site. This is a validated only for tech companies to communicate. We want to keep away those people that might want to use it as a marketing mechanism to get to you, to sell something to you other than tech services. Important. And it's going to have a built-in messaging system so that you can engage and discuss between yourselves and with other organisations in the UK. And therefore, should we allow them to come onto the site? In Vietnam, we're using BBBG and BCCI to help us to validate companies here. Are you a real company? You know, are you have you really got tech? Should you be on the site? Because we don't want people coming onto the site clogging up the search who are not really in the tech industry or want to use it for other purposes. So we'll validate as far as possible the information that's going online. Because unless it works for people, it will be of no value. Does that answer the question?
Is there any plan to make some also offline activities, like bring the UK tech companies over to Vietnam?
Yes. Harvey and Ash are great believers of people coming to Vietnam and seeing and feeling the passion that is here in this country. And so, you know, we already, as Douglas knows, bring about 30 CIOs into Vietnam every year on our own behalf. We would expect to be able to organise missions and delegations into Vietnam using the Tech Hub as our way of promoting that. Because, you know, the biggest challenge I see when Vietnam brings a delegation of people into the UK and vice versa, the biggest challenge is finding companies in the same business to match them with. It's very, very hard. And I see people come all the way from Vietnam looking for somebody to talk to and they can't find anyone. Because SMEs are not visible in the same way that big companies are visible. And this is a mechanism for you to become visible to the tech industry so people, if we want to introduce you to people, we can find you. So this is a marketing tool for you to sell into the United Kingdom and to collaborate with the tech sector in the UK. Okay.
Would the Tech Hub be a place to leverage all that intellectual assets and make it available, and also allow UK companies maybe to sponsor some of those research?
Yeah, is to open up a separate space within Tech Hub for graduates, students, because I think that there is a real opportunity for students in the tech sector in both the UK and in Vietnam to start early collaboration. And for the UK government, that will be fantastic, because we want the future leaders in tech in Vietnam to understand and to be favourable to the British government and British tech companies. So, it's a really valid point. Any other questions?
So, attracting overseas customers is very challenging for all Vietnamese software companies, because we have limited marketing and sales budget, especially for SMEs. So, yesterday, we successfully convinced Mr. Paul Smith to run a workshop for about software outsourcing sales and marketing workshop, so he can share in terms of his 30-year experience in working with international companies, how to win international clients. But we not only let Paul to run the show only, we also invite chairman and CEO from big companies to join Paul to run the show. So, but one question people asking, when? So I cannot answer. So Paul, please answer.
That's it. Now that's selling. That's selling. That's how to close a deal, isn't it? I would expect probably early December.
So you will come back here early December?
I will send you a date within the next 7 days.
Thank you.
Because I have to go and ask permission of my boss. Mr. Lee, you know who my boss is, same boss as you've got. Oh, different boss, but same. Yeah. No, we don't have the same boss, it's okay. No, different boss. So I have to go and ask my wife if I can come. I'm sure she'll say yes. Okay.
Thank you. And okay, so hopefully when we go the confirmation, we will send announcements for all software companies here. So we hope that we need a big room. So because I talked to some companies yesterday, so even many companies from Da Nang and Hanoi, they're really the only chance. So until now, this is the only workshop that conducted by CEO and chairman from big companies. So thank you for accepting and thank you for your idea.
Thank you.
This is just the idea just started from discussion yesterday evening. So the next one, on behalf of VNITO, I would like to introduce some upcoming activities for overseas promotion and business matching events. So in the last few months, software company here working together, trying to promote the industry. So we joining to organize the events in Japan and in US. It's quite successfully. For example, in Japan, we attract more than 60 Japanese companies joining the seminar with just few weeks announcement. So that's very good. And we will invite all Vietnamese software companies to join the trip. So in order to attract overseas customers, we cannot just stay here. We have to go to their countries to introduce about us. So we hope that in the next events, many Vietnamese software companies will join us. If companies is too small. So if we combining together, the volume is bigger, the number of people is bigger. So it's worthwhile for people to join in the event. So that is our plan. So next month, so some VNITO will send some companies to US to discuss with our partners there to organize the seminar in the first quarter of next year. And we, in the next few days, we got a confirmation from Japan in terms of organizing a seminar in second quarter of next year. Why second quarter? Because the last quarter of this year and early next year is not a good time to organize this kind of event in Japan. So the plan is second quarter of next year. But we will try to get the detail and send to all companies soon, so we have time to prepare. And we also discussing with other organizations to organize a similar seminar in Singapore and in Europe. And when we have a detail, we will share with all of you. We hope that from next year, so every quarter, we will have such kind of event.
Mr. An already support to launch the website phase 1 successful. So why and our situation, that's I would like to share with all the Vietnamese community. So in Vietnam now, you know, ITO is a strong industry compared to other area in Vietnam. But until now, we have no centralized database of Vietnam ITO PPO companies. You can search in some channel like HCA, Quang Trung Software City or Vinasa, but in fact, impossible for you to find out all information about ITO PPO companies in Vietnam. That's a big gap. And in some time for collaboration opportunity from Quang Trung Software City or HCA or from many Vietnamese companies, IT Vietnamese companies, we have no reference data or channel to show for potential and foreign partners. That's the big issue. And the last, sometimes we want to promote Vietnam ITO industry in Vietnam and also to build a community, ITO PPO community in Vietnam. So we have no reference also. That's the big issue. That's why, that's the situation. That's why we have the plan to promote, to build up the database for ITO and PPO directory in Vietnam. And the vision is big. And now we just launched the phase number 1, but the vision is very big. So the vision, we have 3 points. The first point, that's it, we try to build it, the centralized and classified database of all Vietnam ITO PPO service provider. The number 2, that is, will be an effective channel for supporting, attracting, and approaching potential business partner in ITO and PPO. And the last one, that's a very big vision that we try best to build up. It's the Vietnam biggest ITO PPO portal for business collaboration. So something you can see, this is similar to the UK Asia Tech Hub.
Open my big mouth again. The presentation yesterday, when you had the 4 executives, and I asked FPT at the end of it, because I had a question I didn't ask. The presentation was all about the past tense, the present tense, but not about the future tense. And the future tense is the actual implementation of the TPP and the IP within that, and what it means in the next year. If you don't get ahead of that with a coordinated effort, then you're going to be subject to it. So this database is really important, and the coordination of how you're going to present yourself as an industry to the United States and other places. I live in Washington, D.C., Virginia, where a lot of tech is right next door. I've helped Vietnam promote many industries, food, furniture, and other things. So you are late to this promotion game to a degree, but how you're going to present yourself very quickly is extremely important, because the IP part in there, if you read it, is going to make things different, and you've got to get ready for that battle. So what he's talking about here, and having a dedicated team, you're all in the tech business. It should not be a question of how you're going to do this. It should be a coordinated effort. And I don't see it here, I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah.
What he's leading is the forefront. There's going to be an impact in a year from now. It's either going to be yes or no, but it's going to affect you. And next year's conference is going to be all about that. Sorry for saying it.
Yeah, agree with you. That's we need to have a collaboration. That's sure. But according to our experience, if without a dedicated team with an entity with professional people to run it, so we should not expect inequality. This is just our message. But I have no idea about collaboration. But it's basic. And about something like IP, that's also one of activity of the software outsourcing club. Sometimes we have the seminars. Until now, we have about 3 or 4 seminars to share anything about related to the business. Not only for IP, but human resource development or leadership or something like that. Yeah, that's a bigger picture, not only related to this project. Okay, no question. Okay, so final work, I hope honored you, Vietnamese community, support this project. Certainly, this is just a first phase, one. The website have certainly made the limitation, so we need your support to promote it better. Thank you very much.